Hello, everyone, and I am Crow. I am doing Warriors Cats reviews while very inebriated, so I'm definitely up there right now. And today, I tried to film this video before and it turned into more of an explanation than a review. So this time, I'm going to be doing more of a review than an explanation, but there will be spoilers, major spoilers, not just for the first arc, but also for the later arcs as well, but those are more minor. Um, I just finished reading the last book of A Starless Clan, and I am deciding to go back to the very beginning and read all of the books in recommended reading order, including the super editions, including the novellas. I've only read like 3 or 4 of the super editions, and I'm definitely behind on that. I haven't read any of the novellas, and I haven't read Dawn of the Clans. So I'm starting out at general good knowledge and from, posts here and there about different things. I vaguely know what's going on. But I'm also going to be making comparisons to the end of where I'm at, to the original, because there were a lot of differences that I didn't expect. So, getting into it, we're going to start with the very first book. So, that is The Prophecies Begin, Book 1, Into the Wild. And we meet Rusty, our antagonist, and he becomes a ThunderClan apprentice, and there are 4 clans in the forest: ThunderClan, ShadowClan, RiverClan, and WindClan. And so the main points that you need to know over all of this is he becomes a warrior apprentice. One of his friends, Ravenpaw, tells him that Tiger Claw actually killed the deputy, Redtail, and not Oakheart killing Redtail and Tiger Claw killing Oakheart in turn. So there's that. We know Tiger Claw is evil. They helped Ravenpaw, Firepaw, and Greypaw helped Ravenpaw get to Barley's, who is a loner, out in a barn over on the other side of WindClan territory. Yellowfang, who was the ShadowClan medicine cat, was run out of ShadowClan and was eventually adopted by ThunderClan. We had 3 deaths. So Redtail, the ThunderClan deputy, who was preceded by Lionheart, who also died in a ShadowClan battle. And then one of the other main points was Clawface, a ShadowClan warrior, came to the camp to steal kits, and he also killed Spotted Leaf in the process. And so by the end of the book, they think Yellowfang has done it. She didn't, and she helps them go and attack ShadowClan because Broken Star has been starving his warriors, cast out his elders, has been training kits as young as 3 moons old. And so they drive him out, they get the kits back. And at the end of the book, Firepaw becomes Fireheart and Greypaw becomes Greystripe. Ravenclaw is safe. And that's the main summary of the book, including spoilers. These are the major points that happened that ended up shaping the later books. So the main character here is Fireheart, who was a kitty pet and is now a warrior of ThunderClan by the end of the book. And this is the only series, like I said, I can't speak for Dawn of the Clans, but this is the only book in the main series, not including novellas and super editions, where the point of view is strictly in one cat. We only have Fireheart's perspective on everything, which was unique to the first series. And so that, and I mean, Fireheart ends up being a very important cat through the first 4 series anyways. So there's that. I've got it written here for least favorite and least favorite parts of the book. For this particular story, and let me mention, Blue Star lost a life. She told Tiger Claw that it was her 5th life. She told Fireheart that it was actually her 7th life. And of course, we know that clan leaders get 9 lives at the beginning of their leadership. I don't feel like I have any least favorite or favorite parts. My least favorite might be when they're doing the tour at the beginning of the book, because it felt very uneventful. but at the same time, it's it was nice to remind myself, because at this point I'm so used to I'm so used to the lake territories, that being reminded of the old territories was a good thing for me. Favorite part, I don't feel like I necessarily have a favorite part either. I liked Yellowfang a lot. Like, I remember I first read this book 15 years ago. So it was a while ago. I tried to reread it once, like a couple years later, but didn't get very far into it. So this was interesting. I liked Yellowfang a lot more this time around, because I guess I just have more appreciation of who she is than the first time. So I really enjoyed that. I would say just Yellowfang is my favorite part. Not necessarily a scene or anything, just her. Even though Spotted Leaf was my favorite the first time I read this. Went over deaths. Have the characters developed in this book? I think Fireheart had the most development, because, I mean, obviously he's learning to be a warrior, but also you start seeing his leadership qualities come out, and you watch as that happens. I mean, we know he becomes a leader at the end of this series, but he's already showing his compassion for other cats very early on. And my next question is about relationships and them emerging and things like that. Tiger Claw and Fireheart are very much foil characters, where Fireheart thinks of all the things that affect everybody. He considers everybody, where Tiger Claw only considers himself. And that becomes very apparent in a lot of their actions. The other important relationships, I would say, would be Fireheart and Graystripe, because they are best friends through this entire series. That is their thing, no matter what has come between them. Ravenpaw was also a very important part in his relationship to them. I find it odd that they're considered like the golden trio when they were only fully present in most of the first book. So that's interesting. But it was still a really good dynamic between the three of them. Other than that, we know that the bond between Tiger Claw and Blue Star is very strong. And we learn more about that in the next book. Yeah, changes in leadership. Broken Star was eventually run out of Shadow Clan, so by the next book, he's not going to be leader anymore. With Spotted Leaf's death, we had Yellowfang being appointed as a medicine cat to ThunderClan. Obviously, the deputies changed from Red Tail to Lionheart to Tiger Claw. And I think that's the only other deputy changes we had, other than Oakhart. Oakhart died, and we do find out early on in the next book that Leopard Fur has replaced him. I assume that Night Pelt will have a different deputy as well, because there were a few elite warriors around Broken Star, so I think that he probably took them with him, including Blackfoot. Subplots, I'm not sure if there's very many subplots at this point, because it feels like everything is coming back. Like, there was the general plot of the movie, don't know where that came from. The general plot of the book involves Rusty becoming Fireheart. So from a kitty pet to a warrior, and that showcased in the first book. And then you have the overarching plot with Tiger Claw and him being a villain and figuring out how that's going to play out. Those are really the only two plot points that really occur very early on, I think. I'm going to skip that one. Are there any points that got lost or glossed over in the later books? I'm going to throw this in where not necessarily things that have been glossed over, but things that have changed between this book and the later books. So one of the things that I think everybody knows about is the allegiances. I mean, from them being so short, like there was another death in the book, Rosetail, who was one of the ThunderClan elders that wasn't even listed in the allegiances. So like, there's stuff like that. Like I never even remembered her at all after all these years. Because she was never in the allegiances, she was never a major character. So that's one of the things. There's a couple other things that are apparent. One of the things was calling all she-cats queens. I don't know why, because I remember reading like them describing Blue Star as a queen, and I was just confused because Blue Star had her kits a long time ago. She's no longer a queen, she's a leader. So that was an interesting change. Sharing Tongues also has lost a lot of its. I think that Sharing Tongues could come up later in books, but I don't remember it being nearly as frequent as it was in the first book, as well as the mentions of warrior blood. Because between Vision of Shadows and Starless Clan, we had several cats that became apprentices, even though they were born from outside, whether that was city cats, whether that was park cats. That just was a very common thing that happened, and no one mentioned warrior blood for them. That wasn't something that was brought up. They don't have warrior blood, they can't be apprentices. So that was also very interesting as well. It's also, after being where I'm at in Sky Clan, being such a big character, especially in Vision of Shadows and Broken Code, it's really weird to be back to 4 clans. As well as Fireheart seems to be the first cat that really starts caring about any of the other clans. The fact that they were very blasé about Wind Clan being driven out, whereas in Starless Clans, we've got them all trying to make sure River Clan doesn't fall apart. So it's weird, the dynamic between clans where they have once been very separate from each other. Like, we acknowledge each other, but we're more fearful towards each other more than anything, to all the clans are here for a reason, and if one of them falls, the others will fall. We need to protect everybody equally. So that was a really interesting change that I'm not used to. So I'm looking forward to reading Fire and Ice. I don't know when that video will come out, but it'll come out eventually. And until then, I wish you happy reading.